We have very important guests coming tonight. Don't give me excuses that you're not feeling well. Work like a horse or pay off your loan and leave. You pathetic, poor, ungrateful people.
She was on her knees. 61 years old, bad knees, high blood pressure. 16 hours into her shift, and she was on her knees in a ballroom full of senators and donors, scrubbing a wine stain from imported Italian marble while the party swirled around her like she was part of the furniture. Nobody looked at her. Nobody ever did. And then the doors opened, and the room went quiet in the way rooms go quiet when real power walks in. Secret Service, cameras, a Navy suit. The face that had been on every screen in America for the past 3 weeks. The Vice President of the United States. He moved through the crowd, shaking hands, nodding, doing what powerful men do at parties like this. And then he stopped, mid-handshake, mid-sentence. His eyes traveled across the gleaming floor to the woman on her knees with the scrub cloth, and something broke open in his face. "Who is that woman?" he said quietly. His aide didn't understand the question. Neither did anyone else in that room. But in 40 minutes, every single person at that party would. And the woman who had spent 3 years being told she didn't matter would finally be seen by everyone who had refused to look. To understand what happened that night, you have to go back, all the way back, to a hospital waiting room, a 14-page contract, and one Tuesday in Baltimore that changed 2 lives. And only one of them knew it. The day Doris Mae Watkins signed the contract, it was raining in Chevy Chase. She remembers the rain because she sat in the lawyer's office for 20 minutes, watching it streak the window while the man explained the terms. He had a kind voice. That was the thing that fooled her. The kind voice, the firm handshake, the way he slid a box of tissues across the desk, like he already knew she'd need them. Her daughter Kezia needed a kidney. The surgery alone was $118,000. The aftercare, the immunosuppressants, the months of monitoring. It added up to more than Doris had earned in the last 8 years combined. She was a Baltimore woman, born in Cherry Hill, raised in a third-floor walk-up where the heat cut out every January and the landlord never called back. She had cleaned houses for 35 years. Good houses. Beautiful houses. Houses with wine cellars and mud rooms and guest rooms that nobody ever slept in. She had no savings left. She had nothing left to sell. The Aldridge family had a solution. Live-in domestic service. 5 years. 6 days a week, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. $700 a month. They called it a stipend plus room and board, as if the words made it something different from what it was. In exchange, the Aldridges would clear every dollar of Kezia's medical debt. All of it. Gone. The lawyer walked her through 14 pages in 20 minutes. He turned each page briskly, professionally, the way people turn pages when they don't want you to read them. Page 11, subsection 4. The penalty clause. If Doris left before her 5 years were complete, the full medical debt, plus interest, would be reinstated immediately. Every dollar, every cent. She didn't see it in time. Or maybe she did, and she signed anyway, because what mother in that situation wouldn't? The Aldridge estate sat behind a wrought iron gate on a tree-lined street where every house looked like something from a magazine. Carlotta Aldridge, wife of Senator Harold Aldridge, regular guest on 3 different political talk shows, ran her home the way some women run small empires, with absolute precision and absolutely no tolerance for anything that fell short of her standard. Doris fell short every single day, according to Carlotta. It started small, a glass placed 1 inch from where it should be, a throw pillow at the wrong angle, the bathroom mirror still holding a ghost of steam at 7 a.m. Small corrections, delivered with the specific tone of a woman who has never once considered that another person's dignity might be worth preserving. But 3 months in, the corrections became something else. Doris had her little orange pill bottle, blood pressure medication, prescribed for years. She kept it in the pocket of her pale blue uniform, the polyester kind that never breathed. Some mornings, she held it in her palm before she got out of bed, just to feel something solid, just to remind herself she had a body and that it mattered. She asked once if she could take Sundays off for her church in Baltimore. Just Sundays. She'd be back by Monday morning, 5 a.m., no exception. Carlotta had looked at her over the rim of her coffee cup and said, "The agreement doesn't have Sundays, Doris. If you wanted Sundays, you should have read it." Doris said nothing. She never said anything. Saying things cost money she didn't have. She went back to work. She had been doing exactly that, going back to work, saying nothing, swallowing it, for 2 years and 9 months. She didn't know it yet, but the night of the vice presidential gala was the last night she would ever have to. The vice presidential inauguration gala. 300 guests, black tie. The kind of event that required Doris to start preparing 4 days in advance. She pressed 72 linen napkins by hand. She polished every champagne flute until it held light like a prism. She arranged 3 separate floral centerpieces on her knees at 2 in the morning, then got up at 4:15 to do it again because Carlotta had changed the color scheme overnight. No notice, no apology. Just a new instruction delivered to Doris's door like a note slipped under a hotel room. By the morning of the gala, Doris had been awake for over 36 hours. Her pressure was spiking. She could feel it, the throb at the back of her skull, her vision going slightly bright at the edges. She took her pill at noon, drank a full glass of water, and kept moving. The agreement said she kept moving. At 8 p.m., with the gala in full swing, a senator's wife set down her champagne glass too hard and it tipped. Red wine spread across 20 square inches of the Aldridge's imported Italian marble ballroom floor. Carlotta found Doris in the kitchen and said 4 words. "Ballroom floor, right now." Not please, not there's been a spill. 4 words. Like a command given to something that doesn't have feelings about being commanded. Doris took the bucket and the scrub cloth and walked into the ballroom. 300 people, black tie, crystal chandeliers throwing warm light across the room. Senators and their wives laughing by the bar. Donors working the room with careful smiles. A string quartet in the far corner playing something elegant and forgettable. And Doris May Watkins, 61 years old, got down on her knees in the center of it all and started to scrub. Nobody stopped talking. Nobody moved aside. A man in a tuxedo actually stepped around her mid-sentence, the way you step around a piece of furniture that's been left in an inconvenient place, and kept right on with his story. Carlotta appeared at the edge of the room. She watched for a moment. Then she walked over, slowly, deliberately, in her emerald gown and diamond earrings, and stood directly above Doris. "You're streaking it," she said, loud enough to carry. "The grain goes with the marble, not against it. How many times?" Doris did not look up. She adjusted the cloth. She kept scrubbing. "Look at me when I'm speaking to you, Doris." She looked up, from her knees, at Carlotta Aldridge standing over her in the middle of a ballroom full of the most powerful people in the city, all of whom had now gone just slightly quieter. Not because they were disturbed, but because they were watching with the careful blankness of people who have decided this is not their concern. "Yes, ma'am," Doris said. "Finish it properly. Then go back to the kitchen and don't come out front again tonight. You're making the room look untidy." She walked away. The conversation around them resumed. The string quartet played on. Doris turned back to the floor. She pressed the cloth to the marble. Her knees ached. Her head throbbed. Somewhere in the room, someone laughed at something very funny. She scrubbed. She breathed. She did not cry. She had long since stopped spending tears on people who wouldn't notice them anyway. She just stayed on her knees and kept going, the way she always kept going, because the agreement said she had to. and because Kezia was alive and healthy in Baltimore, and because some prices, once you've paid them, you just keep paying. She didn't know it yet, but she was still on that floor, still on her knees, still invisible, still scrubbing, when the front doors opened 51 minutes later, and the man who walked in would make sure she never had to kneel in that room again. Marcus Cole entered the Aldridge estate the way he entered every room now, surrounded, attended, performing the small rituals of power. Handshakes, smiles, the practiced warmth of a public man at a private event. But Marcus had never lost the habit he built on the campaign trail, looking at the edges, not the center of a room, the edges, where the real people were. He was mid-handshake with a congressman when he saw her, not near a doorway, not behind a tray, on the floor, on her knees, in the middle of the ballroom, in the pale blue uniform, scrubbing marble while 300 people in black tie moved around her like water around a stone nobody wanted to acknowledge. Marcus stopped talking. The congressman kept going for a few words before he realized. His aide touched his elbow. Senator Aldridge, approaching from the left with an outstretched hand, slowed and then halted, reading something in Marcus's face he couldn't quite name. Marcus didn't move. He just stood there, watching. He watched a man in a tuxedo step around her without breaking his sentence. He watched two women in gowns drift past without looking down. He watched the entire room perform the practiced American art of not seeing, and something old and heavy moved through his chest. The pale blue uniform, the set of the shoulders, the way her head stayed down, not from shame, but from the learned discipline of a person who has been taught that looking up costs too much. Not a click, not a sudden flash, something slower. The way a word you've carried for years finally surfaces, starting at the edges, working inward, building until it's the only thing in the room. The posture, the hands, the particular stillness of someone who has decided, at great personal cost, to endure. He excused himself from Senator Aldridge, politely, briefly, in a way that left no room for follow-up, and crossed to his senior aide, Janelle. The woman on the floor, pale blue uniform. I need her name, right now, quietly. Janelle looked. Her expression flickered, the slight confusion of someone who isn't sure what they're being asked or why. Sir, she's the household staff, she's just... Her name, Janelle. Janelle came back in 4 minutes. Doris May Watkins, 61, live-in domestic worker. She's on a private contract with the Aldridges. Been here close to 3 years. Marcus went very still. Private contract, he said. Yes, sir. Some kind of arrangement. I don't have the details. He didn't respond right away. He was still watching Doris. She had finished the scrubbing and was rising from her knees, slowly, the way people rise when their knees have been on marble too long. And she straightened, and for one moment she lifted her face, and the chandelier light caught her full on. The eyes, the exact eyes, steady, exhausted, carrying something enormous and carrying it alone. The styrofoam cup, the folding chair. What are you going to do? 11 years collapsed into a single breath. That's her, he said, so quietly that Janelle leaned in. That is the woman from Payson Street. He was already moving before she could ask what that meant. Carlotta Aldridge watched the Vice President of the United States cross her ballroom, past the senators, past the donors, past her husband's outstretched hand, and walked directly toward the woman who had been on her knees on that floor 20 minutes ago. And in the 10 seconds it took Carlotta to understand what she was seeing, everything she had built in that house began to come apart. But to understand why he crossed that ballroom toward her, you have to go back again, to the early days of Marcus Elijah Cole, before the power, before the cameras, before anyone knew his name. 11 years before that ballroom, Marcus Elijah Cole was just a man with a folding table, a borrowed megaphone, and a campaign budget of $4,000. He was running for Baltimore City Council, District 7, his first election ever. His cousin Dre drove the van. His campaign manager was a 23-year-old named Portia, who believed in him more than he believed in himself on most days. On a Tuesday in October, cool and gray the way Baltimore October gets, Marcus held a community listening session at the West Side Community Center on Payson Street. He expected 50 people. He got 11. 6 were family. He gave his speech anyway. Too fast, too many big words, the speech of a Howard Law graduate who had not yet learned that the people don't need your vocabulary. They need your truth. He opened the floor for questions. The room sat in the awkward quiet of small crowds who aren't sure they trust you yet. And then a hand went up in the back. She was maybe 50, still in her work uniform, a different house, a different shade of blue, the same invisible woman polyester. A styrofoam cup of corner store coffee held in both hands. Eyes that had seen enough not to waste time on anything unearned. "Young man," she said, "you talk real pretty about dignity and economic justice. I want to know if you mean it. Because I clean houses 6 days a week, and I still cannot afford my blood pressure medication. I'm not special. Half this neighborhood is me. So I don't want to know what you're going to say. I want to know what you're going to do." The room shifted. Marcus looked at this woman, the styrofoam cup, the tired hands, the eyes that held no cruelty but absolutely no patience for performance. And something locked inside him. Something that would never fully unlock again. He said, "Ma'am, I don't have an answer tonight that's good enough for what you just asked. But I give you my word. I will not stop until I do." She looked at him for a long moment, the way people look when they're deciding whether to believe something. Then she said quietly, "Okay, I'ma hold you to that." She put on her coat and walked out into the Baltimore night. He never got her name. He never stopped thinking about her face. Marcus Cole won that council race by 62 votes, then the Maryland State Senate, then the U.S. Congress. Then, 11 years after Payson Street, he stood on a platform in Washington and was sworn in as the 49th Vice President of the United States. His first act in office was co-sponsoring the Household Workers Protection Act, federal minimum wage guarantees, mandatory rest provisions, healthcare access, and strict prohibitions against coercive contract terms for domestic workers. When journalists asked what inspired it, he always gave the same answer. "A woman in a folding chair who wouldn't let me get away with pretty words." He had been trying to find her for 11 years, in every city, after every speech. He'd asked his staff twice to quietly investigate. Nothing ever came back. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. He didn't know that while he was building a law to protect women like her, she had already been swallowed by exactly the system he was trying to destroy. And in 48 hours, he would walk right into the house where she was trapped. Some stories don't find you by accident. You're here because something in you already understands this. The weight of being unseen, the quiet cost of endurance, the way ordinary people carry extraordinary things without anyone clapping. Not everyone finds stories like this, but you did. Hold on. What comes next is the part that will stay with you. Doris had just picked up her bucket and scrub cloth from the floor when she heard the crowd shift behind her. Not the usual shift, not the polite parting of guests making room for a waiter. A different kind. The kind that happens when someone with real gravity moves through a room and the room feels it. She turned. The Vice President of the United States was walking directly toward her. His security detail fanned out behind him. His aide was a half-step back, confused. The ballroom, all 300 people of it, had gone the particular quiet of a crowd that doesn't know what it's watching yet, but knows it's watching something. Doris stood still. Still in the pale blue uniform, still holding the bucket, still on the same patch of marble she had just been scrubbing on her knees. Marcus stopped 2 feet in front of her. He looked at her the way people look when they are trying to be absolutely certain before they say something they can't take back. Then he said, Payson Street, Westside Community Center, October, 11 years ago. The bucket handle slipped slightly in Doris's grip. You asked me what I was going to do, he said, not what I was going to say. You asked what I was going to do about women who couldn't afford their blood pressure medication, about half a neighborhood that was working and still drowning. Her free hand moved, slowly, without thinking, to the pocket of her uniform, to the small orange pill bottle. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out for a moment. You remember me, she whispered. I have been looking for you for 11 years, he said. The ballroom was absolutely silent now. 300 people. Not one of them spoke. Carlotta Aldridge pushed through from the edge of the crowd, Senator Aldridge a step behind her. Her composure was intact, barely, the expression of a woman who has spent years learning to perform calm in rooms where she is not calm. Marcus. The senator's voice was careful, diplomatic. Perhaps we could... There's a private room where... Tell me about her contract, Marcus said. He did not turn around. His eyes stayed on Doris. Silence. Her terms, her hours, the penalty clauses. Now he turned, slowly, the kind of slow that has weight in it. Tell me, in front of this room, what happens to this woman if she walks out tonight? Every senator in the ballroom heard that, every donor, every camera that had been set up for the vice president's remarks. Nobody answered, because there was no answer that sounded acceptable out loud. Carlotta said tightly, "It was a mutual arrangement. She came to us voluntarily." "On what terms?" Marcus said. One more time. Final. The silence that followed was its own answer. "That's what I thought," Marcus said. What happened next was not in the evening's program. Marcus turned back to Doris. She was still standing in the same spot, bucket in hand, pale blue uniform, the marble floor beneath her feet, and he said quietly, "Will you walk with me?" Doris looked at him for one long moment. Then she set the bucket down on the floor, carefully, deliberately, like setting down something she would never have to pick up again, and said, "Yes." He offered his arm. She took it. They walked together toward the podium. The crowd parted, because crowds always parted for him. But this time every eye followed not the Vice President of the United States, but the woman beside him. The woman in the pale blue uniform. The woman who had been on her knees on that floor 20 minutes ago. Marcus took a microphone from the small podium that had been set up for his remarks. The room went quiet. "Before I say anything else tonight," he said, "I want to introduce you to someone." He turned to Doris. 11 years ago, this woman sat in a folding chair in a community center in West Baltimore and asked me the question that changed my life. She asked me not what I was going to say, but what I was going to do. About women who worked their entire lives and still couldn't afford to be sick. About the contracts that trap people. About the silence that lets it continue. He paused. The Household Workers Protection Act goes to committee in 48 hours. It exists because of her. And I didn't even know her name until tonight. He looked at her. His eyes were full. Her name is Doris May Watkins, and this country owes her more than I can say in this room. The room began to applaud. Slowly at first, the cautious applause of people who aren't sure what's happening. And then fully, because the room contained human beings, and human beings, when they are not pretending, know dignity when they finally see it. Carlotta Aldridge stood at the edge of the crowd, her emerald gown, her diamond earrings, her face absolutely white. Senator Aldridge did not clap.
And Doris May Watkins stood in the center of that ballroom, on the same marble she had been scrubbing on her knees less than an hour ago. And the whole room saw her. Every senator, every donor, every camera. She did not cry. She was too tired for tears, and too dignified, and she had long since stopped needing other people's recognition to know who she was. But she let herself be seen. For the first time in a very long time, she let herself be seen. 3 weeks after the gala, Doris sat in a conference room on Pennsylvania Avenue. The contract had been dissolved. The Aldridges had signed within 48 hours, understanding exactly what it would cost them publicly to refuse. The lawyer Marcus's office had arranged was sharp and thorough and free. Every penny of the reinstated debt clause had been nullified. Doris had a cup of good coffee in a real mug. She held it in both hands the way she had always held things, like they mattered, like warmth was something worth keeping. Marcus sat across from her. No staff, no cameras, just the two of them and 11 years of an uncompleted question. "I want to ask you something," he said. "That night on Payson Street, you came straight from work. 11 people in the room. You didn't have to say anything. You could have just gone home." Doris was quiet for a moment, the kind of quiet that comes before something true. "My husband had died 3 weeks before that meeting," she said. Marcus's expression changed. 28 years together. Winston Watkins. He drove a bus, Route 22, Cherry Hill to downtown. Knew every regular by name. A small, real smile. Couldn't cook a thing to save his life. Burned water. I am not exaggerating. Her smile faded slowly, the way smiles fade when they have somewhere heavier to go. He died of a heart attack, 53 years old. We had been putting off his cardiology appointment for 8 months because we kept saying, "Next month, when things ease up, when the rent's caught up, when Kezia's car is fixed, when. She paused. "Things don't ease up. We know that now." She looked at Marcus directly. "I came to that meeting because Winston used to say, always say, that the only thing worse than suffering is suffering quiet. That if you've got something to say to power, you say it, even when your voice shakes." She set down the mug. "My voice was shaking that night," she said. "You probably couldn't tell, but it was." That was the second twist, and it unmade the entire story in the best possible way. All along, this had seemed like the story of a powerful man who never forgot an ordinary woman. A story about memory, about recognition, about a politician keeping his word. But the real story was this: a woman who had just buried the person she loved most in the world, who was in grief so new it had no floor, chose, in that grief, to stand up in a folding chair and ask the hard question anyway. Not for herself, not even for Marcus, for Winston. Because Winston had taught her that going quiet was the one thing you couldn't take back. Marcus Cole had spent 11 years thinking a stranger had given him a mission. What she had actually given him was her husband, Winston Watkins, bus driver, bad cook, man who knew every regular by name, transformed into one honest question that became the spine of everything Marcus ever built. Winston never ran for office, never gave a speech, never sat at a table where any decision was made. But on a Tuesday in October, through the shaking voice of the woman who loved him, he changed the direction of a man who would one day help change a law. And that law would protect hundreds of thousands of people. People like Doris, people like Winston, people who could never afford for things to go wrong, from going quietly into arrangements that devoured them. Dignity is not something powerful people grant. It is something ordinary people refuse to surrender, even when they're on their knees, even when their name is bitten off like a complaint, even when every room has decided not to see them. And sometimes, the people who change the world aren't the ones at the podium. Sometimes they're the ones in the folding chair, still shaking, still standing, still speaking in the name of someone they lost. Doris didn't survive because someone finally noticed her. She survived because she never stopped knowing she was worth noticing. And that quiet, unglamorous, undefeated knowing, that is the most powerful thing a human being can carry. They treated her like she was nothing,
Then the whole country learned her name. But Winston always knew.